Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Movie and a Hunt. I'm RJ.
And I'm Paige, played by Paris Hilton.
I mean, this entire episode is just Paris Hilton, nothing else.
Obviously.
Today, we are going to be speaking about House of Wax 2005. Also known as that movie Paris Hilton was in.
Yeah.
I feel like that's... When I was younger, that's all I knew was that Paris Hilton was in this movie.
Yeah, same.
And I mean, that's hot.
It's so hot.
So hot. The fact that she wasn't in it was, like, so brutal.
I mean, it's beyond.
Beyond. So beyond. It has not achieved the maximum of the slithing barometer, unfortunately.
No.
Unfortunate. But no, like, in all reality, when this movie came out, the tagline was "Watch Paris Die." When she dies in the movie, the score's name for the song is "Paris Gets It," which is very odd considering it usually is like a name of a character. But that's all I remember. And then going into this movie, it was like, I watched it 2 years ago. I remember it not being awful, and you remember it like liking it. It's like regarded as like kind of underrated, and then we watched it. And yeah, that was 2 hours, but the first hour could have been cut.
Yeah, I like you said, I know they were advertising Paris, but it felt like she was in it for maybe a total of 15 minutes of the 2-hour movie. Which is disappointing because, to be honest, she was the best part. Yeah. The trailer was very blah, like the rest of the movie. I guess you can't make a good trailer with a blah movie.
But also, this was 2005. Trailers sucked in 2005.
Very true. The taglines on the trailer were very, very, like, stereotypical of, horror movie phrases.
Yeah. I feel like, because 2005, we had finally exited that portion where we were like, we don't need someone narrating every fucking part of our trailer.
Mm-hmm.
But also, we haven't reached, like, probably the Marvel, because, like, Marvel Cinematic Universe technically wrote the formula on new trailers. Specifically, when Guardians came out in, like, 2013, that's when, when you watch trailers today, they're mostly based off of Guardians, song that people in an older demographic remembers, which gets them drawn in more, flashy lights, big explosions, one-liners. It all came from basically Guardians. This was an odd time for trailers where we were figuring out what the hell we wanted in the new formula for trailers.
And how much to show of the said movie that you're trying to advertise.
I mean, the one thing I can say about the trailers, it didn't show the ending.
Yeah. Yeah,
it showed a second because the hand coming out was part of the ending, but I wouldn't piece that together.
And most of the deaths, too, weren't shown. Maybe the after effects of the deaths or whatnot, so I'll give it that, that's for sure.
They showed the POV of Paris getting killed.
Yeah, that was a good shot, but that reminded me of, was it Friday Part 3?
With the harpoon?
Yep, the harpoon.
Part 3.
My favorite part.
That's correct. But I think the issue with this movie's trailer is it's so inconsequential. Like,
easily forgettable.
Oh, very forgettable. I think probably our most forgettable trailer of the season so far.
Yeah, I think so.
It really didn't have much going for it.
But I think that's overall the movie.
False. That's the first half of this movie.
That's fair. But, yeah, do you want to start getting into it then?
I just want to let you know, we changed our formula a little bit.
Mm.
We let Wikipedia guide us through this now. Thank you, Wikipedia. This thing has 5 paragraphs.
That's pretty accurate.
How?
It's a 2-hour movie.
Okay, but unless one of the sentences is like, and they stood in place for 2 hours, that's like, has to be a sentence. So I'm interested to see where this goes. Wikipedia, don't let me down.
And let's get into it.
Let's have a sliving episode.
So sliving.
All right, let's start this. Siblings Carly and Nick Jones, along with their friends Wade, Paige, Blake, and Dalton are all on their way to a football game. Honestly, I don't think I called these characters by their actual names once. It was all actors' names.
We were basically like, oh, there goes Chad Michael Murray. Oh, there goes Jared Padalecki. Oh, hey, Paris,
Yeah.
what's up? You know?
Well, the thing about Jared Padalecki is this came out the same year as when Supernatural started. And I think I noted that Jared Padalecki in this movie looks like an off-brand Jared Padalecki.
I think that's the perfect description.
The haircuts in this movie are brutal.
It's like he went to a drunk barber, and this was the aftermath.
I mean, this is 2005. Everyone had that, like,
Shaggy bowl cut.
mop.
Yep.
It was like a mop top.
Yep.
It's disgusting. The evening before the game, the Tyler teens decide to camp overnight in a secluded wooded area, finding it too late to travel any further. Okay, technically they didn't think it was too late. Paris was just like, I'm fucking tired.
He's just like, pull over, let's camp. I'm done.
So technically Paris got the... No. Cousin Skeeter got them all killed.
Yes.
Because he was like, I found a shortcut. Which, seriously, this movie is more evidence of why you don't take shortcuts in life. Like with driving, do not take shortcuts.
In any horror movie, what are the two rules? Don't take shortcuts and never split up. And they did both in these movies.
They really, they split up too.
Mm-hmm.
They Scooby-Doo'd that shit. But it looks like they're coming from Florida and they were on their way to Louisiana.
Yeah, in Baton Rouge.
Yeah. Which was a bummer because I thought this was all in Florida and I was like, man, this could definitely be Yeehaw Junction.
100%.
Definitely be going to. I remember. Quick aside, I went to Yeehaw Junction once, not because I wanted to, but because when we were driving, the kind of like the split to get to the next area went through Yeehaw Junction. I have never been so scared in my life. It looked like Texas Chainsaw. It looked like House of Wax. It looked like people wanted to kill me.
Yeah.
And I made a promise from that day on that I would never go to Yeehaw Junction.
No matter what happens.
Again. My aunt once used the bathroom at Yeehaw Junction.
Wow, your aunt is brave.
I was like, damn, you really had to go if you went there. But before we continue on, one thing we have not discussed about yet, and the one thing that this Wikipedia article is not going to bring in, the soundtrack and the music montage that was this movie.
We were, not even 10 minutes in, and I think we went through
4 songs.
4 songs. Yep.
By 15, we were 6 songs into the 12-song album.
Yeah.
And they saved the My Chemical Romance song until the credits.
I feel like they spent most of their budget, to be fair, on practical effects, yes, but a lot of it on the soundtrack. We had, Deftones, Marilyn Manson.
Deftones, you had Marilyn Manson, Disturbed, MCR, The Stooges, I forgot who else, but you didn't have small bands.
No, these were big names, either in
or
present
they
time
were
or past.
Getting big.
Yeah, exactly. Because My
the
Chemical Romance, the song Helena, was just getting big right before the movie released. And so
which would probably mean, I mean, it's in the ending credits, so technically they could have bought the rights right when the song was getting big.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, let's just talk about this. They decide to camp out in the middle, buttfuck nowhere.
In pretty fancy tents.
One of the tents was like an apartment.
Mm-hmm. It was more than enough room for 3 people.
And they decide, we're going to do this. They throw around football. They throw around a football. One Tree Hill is dick.
Yep, he's just...
Is what you learn really quickly.
Drinking, sitting by himself, being, a stick in the mud.
Paris Hilton is probably the only other character I like initially. Like, she's like a good friend and just a good person.
Yeah.
She's not disgusting. Jared Padalecki is a little bitch boy.
He's a complete asshole.
I was very happy when he got killed.
Same. And it was the first
Sorry.
kill. Oh, so satisfying.
It just took forever.
Yeah,
it
but it was great we didn't have to see him for the rest of the movie. Technically.
I know. And then also the guy from Scary Movies in this. Like,
yeah.
It's such a weird cast. That night, a stranger in a truck arrives unexpectedly and watches them intently. Wow, that is a sentence.
Yeah, so this guy is
I don't know.
Blaring
I don't know if
his
he watches
lights.
them intently. He's just like kind of there.
He's just blaring his lights at them. They're like, "Oh, turn off your lights, dude!" And then Chad Michael Murray throws a beer bottle.
Chucks a beer bottle at the.
What a tough
car.
guy, huh?
And everyone like gasses him up when he does
Yeah,
it.
they're like, "Oh, that was so cool, man! You're so hardcore."
I'm like, all right, this is 05. This is like peak manliness.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Getting me and my friends killed, manly. Blake and Dalton ask the driver to leave, and when their request is ignored, Nick throws a bottle at the car's headlight, smashing it. I mean, I have to give him one thing. That was really good targeting.
During conversation right before this, he's talking to his sister, Carly, and she's like, "Oh, you threw away your scholarship because you stole that car or whatever." And
Which he didn't steal.
right, that we find out later. And I think he also may have had an injury of some sort that maybe snowballed him to be a bad boy. But, so, the shot makes sense.
I like how, like, in this movie, it's like, he's the bad boy. And, what that technically means is he just blames everybody for everything.
Yeah.
You know, bad boy.
Nothing's ever his fault, is basically what we're told to believe.
The truck subsequently leaves, but as the teens sleep, they are filmed without their knowledge by a mysterious figure. Sorry. This is a good thing to bring in the handy cam that shots this movie likes to do. The best way I can put this is it felt like the handy cam shots were an excuse to be like, our cameras suck in this movie. Like our camera work is awful. But don't forgive it if it's a handy cam.
It's an excuse. It's, a Band-Aid on it. But yeah, just as a general note, the camera work was atrocious.
It sucks. And they had great sets, which made this worse.
I know. It really destroyed the wonderful sets that were made. I also got to say, on top of the terrible camera work, the editing was very subpar.
Yeah.
Especially during the action scenes, which is really bad in a horror movie.
Also, I saw the budget for this movie. This movie had a $40 million budget.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
This movie, let me put this into like perspective. This movie had, not even counting for inflation, so technically this movie probably would have had more money than the movie I'm about to bring up. Scream 4 had a $40 million budget.
Wow. This had a lot of...
And they had, like, names. Like I can tell the money for them went towards the names.
Right.
Like, besides Paris, which was a producer, so she probably paid her own, like...
salary,
own salary. Chad Michael Murray, I guess maybe, but he was TV, so it's not... he was also in A Cinderella Story.
But he's a big name, and you want teenagers in the seats for this type of movie. And he's going to draw them in.
And Jared Padalecki technically wasn't big yet.
Exactly.
Or, like, when they were filming it, he wasn't big.
Right.
So they probably didn't have to pay him much. Carly is awakened after hearing a noise, but finds nothing upon investigation. That's basically this. You know what? That if you want me to describe the first hour of this movie, that's the sentence.
Yep.
She hears a noise, she sees a thing, nothing happens. Rinse and repeat to the hour point.
Honestly, guys, if you watch this after listening to us, just save yourself the time. Skip to about maybe the 58th minute of the film. You won't miss a thing, I promise you.
So all you need to do is skip to the point where Marilyn Manson starts playing. And you're good. The next morning, Wade discovers his car's fan belt is broken, and Carly trips and falls into a large pit of roadkill. Oh, the roadkill was nasty.
The squelching, the sound of the flies were disgusting. Oh my god.
I remember I'm just like, man, if anybody else's hands were in this, she would be like, she was kind of just like, somebody help. And I'd be like, I know I would probably be vomiting because the smell
Same.
of it all.
I'd pass out right after like vomiting my entire stomach contents. I'd be like, just cut my arms off. Just I'll never get them clean again.
Then you wake up with just like animal carcass on your face because you passed out into it. Oh God. The group comes to her aid, and afterwards meets a man by the pit named Lester. Of course.
Oh, he had a name. Okay.
He has a name. Who offers to drive Carly and Wade to the nearby town of Ambrose for a new fan belt, while the rest head to the game. It just clicked in my head. This entire movie's like inciting incident is a fan belt. That's the inciting incident for this entire movie.
So, moral of the story, always carry an extra fan belt in your truck.
That is depressing.
Yikes. All because Jared Padalecki did not want to leave his car and go to the game.
I mean, I get it. You guys have to remember, this is 2005. They had the pickup truck, and he had that sexy red car.
Oh, yeah.
That sexy red sports car. Oh, God. Carly and Wade arrive outside of Ambrose, which appears initially as a ghost town. It is a ghost town. It is a great set, though.
I loved this set. The whole theme of the town is basically it never left the 50s. The buildings are in the same style. But it is the definition of a ghost town. There's no signs of life until they get to the end of the street where they hear the church music.
Technically, yeah. Which literally the next sentence is they meet the gas station owner, Bo Sinclair, who offers to sell them a fan belt later in the day. You know what's great? You know how, like, in every other episode so far, or technically My Bloody is our first episode that we kind of did the format change. I'm like, well, actually, like, this other stuff happened in the middle. In my head, I know other stuff happened. I just don't care.
It's not worth mentioning. Literally, the Wikipedia article is doing a great job at describing nothing.
The only thing I'll add to this one is the, like, this is within 3 minutes. You'd think, oh, Jared Padalecki is kind of a cool guy initially, or like maybe he's just a quiet person. By the time they get to this town, he's a full-blown jackass.
100%.
Basically, and it kind of peaks at the church, which is where they end up at. They walk into what they think is a funeral, which is a very uncomfortable thing to, like, you know, just walk in on a funeral. They go outside. Bo comes out, and he's talking to them. And final girl, Carly, she's like, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We did not know what was going on in there. And freaking Jared Padalecki's like, we need a fan belt.
He's like, yeah, hi. Fan belt? You got one?
It's like, dude, read the room. But he's from Florida, so, you know, on brand. In the meantime, the duo visit the local House of Wax, a wax museum, which is itself made of wax and is the central feature of the town.
And again, Jared Padalecki just adds to his, you know, dickery and, you know, does a B&A, goes into the wax house when it's closed and snoops around, takes out his little lighter and is pretending to set everything on fire.
Little arsonist.
Yeah.
The best part of this has to be where he goes to the dog.
that was
like, oh, it looks so real, and then the dog is real. Loved it. But one thing is, I will say the Wikipedia article does not mention this. But there is a cool scene where she wipes the glass, and you just see William in the window behind the mirror.
The jump scare.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vincent.
Vincent, sorry.
Yeah.
This was actually funny to me. Just because I just think the way it was cut, because it was like, boom, and then like he like yeets himself out of the window. Jared Padalecki's like, I'm gonna go outside, and he does nothing. And then eventually, Carly like tips over a wax.
Yeah, because she turns around, the face is melted, and it's pretty frightening.
She runs out of the house, and she's like, let's go. And Jared Padalecki's like, what's wrong, babe? What's going on? What's up?
It's all fine.
What happened?
You're just freaking out. Stop being, hysterical.
I wanted to set more stuff on fire.
But I do want to talk about the House of Wax.
It's wonderful.
Everything in there is absolutely stunning. They go and talk about it, the characters, that literally head to toe in that building, everything is made of wax. The floors, the ceiling, the goddamn piano.
The plates.
Yeah. Everything is made out of wax. And again, the practical effects in this movie are absolutely beyond, as Paris would say.
They are beyond. And Wade is brutal.
Oh, super brutal.
As Paris would say. Later that night, the pair follow Bo to his house to get a fan belt, and Bo offers the house's restroom to Wade. Okay, here's the thing. Stranger danger. First things first, stranger danger. I would be like, I'd take the 16 and bolt.
Yeah.
Because he's like, oh, well, they needed a 15. He only has a 16. So he's like, I'll take you to my place.
Coincidentally, the order for the 15-inch fan belt is in my home. Please come with me.
And I'm pretty sure Carly's like, we can take the 16, right? Like, we should just probably take the 16.
Yeah.
And fucking, like, Wade's like, nah, we can follow him. Everything's good.
Like, the only two smart characters in this film are Carly and Paige. That's it.
Yeah, Paige actually didn't do anything wrong. She did everything she could have.
No, yeah. Nothing wrong whatsoever.
While exploring. Oh, also, Wade has a really weird tendency of being, like, going into places he does not belong in.
Oh, yeah.
The House of Wax. He explores this house, which he should not have done.
They explored the gas station, which they should not have done.
Which is all initiated by Wade.
Mm-hmm.
While exploring, Wade is ambushed by Bo's disfigured brother Vincent, who brings him to his workshop in the basement of the House of Wax and covers his body in molten wax. Now, this, like, kind of amalgamation of scenes has some great moments and some of the worst moments of the movie. It's like, it's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with this. This movie, I was going to put this out now. We had to not look at the screen a few times throughout this movie because it was fucking gross at times.
Yeah.
The cutting of the Achilles tendon was something I refused to look at. I knew what was about to happen, and I looked away.
Yeah, it was gross. Again, the squelching noise, and then actually seeing it on screen, not very pleasant. And then
it was great for me because I looked away and you were screaming, so I didn't even hear what was going on in the movie.
You were just like, oh, there it goes. But it really does suck because the, Achilles attack does happen later with Paige's character, and I don't like it. Like, get a little creative with, your attacks in these movies. That's what we're here to see. We're here to see these kills.
Yeah. Which, the thing is, this movie at least does increase in good kills.
Yes.
Now, cool. Brutal attack. Now comes the bad parts. The super close cam on Jared Padalecki's face that looked like it was like out of Blair Witch as he's like running around the the dark area.
But like in a bad way. With Blair Witch, it made sense. It brought up the, heightened suspense. But with this, I'm like, oh God, get me away. I can see his pores. Like,
it's so gross. It's so bad. The jump scare is cool where he runs out of the dark and like kicks him in the face.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool. And then when they get back to good, when they get to the wax room and like he gets all that treatment.
That's one way to put it.
He gets waxed in one go.
Yeah.
His eyebrows and his goatee all get waxed off in one go.
Vincent had another calling in life, and that is to be a beautician.
If he didn't have a fucked up brother, maybe one day. But I like the room.
Yes.
Again, this goes into great set design, terrible directing.
And that really brings down what this movie could have been. Is this
Carly
where
notices that.
Is this where we saw the stairwell with the faces?
No, that is when dude
later.
from Scary Movie finds Jared
Okay,
Padalecki.
I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah, that happens probably maybe. See, in my head, I'm like, maybe another 20 minutes. But at the same time, this movie went so slow, this could have happened 40 minutes later.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like blanking. Carly notices that Bo's truck has a broken headlight and comes to the realization that he was the one who visited the campsite the night before. She attempts to escape, she attempts to escape from Bo, but he abducts her, restraining her in the gas station cellar and gluing her mouth shut while some wonderful Marilyn Manson plays, which makes this scene that should be scary very horny.
Yeah, it was very uncomfortable in many ways. But again, I do have to shout out to the practical effects. The gluing of her mouth was very well done.
It was. The problem is this movie sometimes, it's 2005, which is not a good era for the 2000s are not good for horror. I will put that out there. It is not a good time. You know, the good movies are good, but they're few and far in between. But they're also some of the grossest years for horror.
And I think we have to give, credit to things like Saw and Final Destination for that.
Well, not even that, because there's gross in the sense of too much bodily horror, but then gross in the sense of pervy horror. And when we were watching this, I remember we were like, ugh, and then I was really scared he was gonna lick her glued mouth.
Yeah.
Because that's something the 2000s would have done to be quote unquote edgy. And while you're doing that while Marilyn Manson's playing, it's just
it all lines up.
Probably the Marilyn Manson music playing made me think that more.
Completely understandable too,
Yeah. I'm happy they didn't, but it's just that thing of things get gross when there's a guy and a girl on screen in the mid 2000s. It always gets a little nasty.
Especially with him restraining her and the close-ups of the restraints. It was very uncomfortable. If that was the goal, they reached it. Maybe a little too well.
Stuck in traffic on their way to the football game, Paige and Nick convince Blake to turn the car around and return to the campsite. So remember how we said Paige did nothing wrong? Paige did one thing wrong.
Yeah, but she didn't want to go to this game in the first place. So.
Okay. That's fine. You could have lived. But also, logistically, how did they turn around in the middle of a one-way road on a highway?
Yeah, it was literally bumper to bumper. I don't know.
It was we have stock footage. We'll use this, and then we'll say they have to turn around. Dahl and Nick head to Ambrose to find Carly and Wade, while Blake and Paige stay behind to have sex, which they do not have.
They do not.
Because
in the middle of their, sexy time, or about to, Paris is like, "Hey, guess what? I need to talk to you. Hey, let's put a hold on this." And she wants to tell him that she thinks she might be pregnant, and I'm like, "Girl, is this the time?"
Well, that's not what makes them stop.
It's the music stops.
The music stops, and Blake's like, "I need my music. I need my tempo." And he goes out, and he hears the voicemail from before.
Right. Carly called Paige's phone, and he heard that, and then we don't see what's his name, Blake.
Yeah, we don't see Blake get killed.
No.
It kind of just cuts right to
the aftermath.
The aftermath, later on in the movie. But arriving at the gas station, Nick talks to Bo, who plies off the tip of Carly's finger when she escapes her restraints and attempts to get Nick's attention from the cellar. That finger was nasty.
That was
seems gross.
disgusting. I thought he was gonna like step on her finger and like crush it. It was much worse than that.
The one thing that like I didn't get was she had the like I guess she was like restrained to a chair with like duct tape. She had the metal on one of her hands, and it was like, you know, she was basically putting her hand through like kind of like a.
It's a grate.
It's a grate. Mm-hmm. You could just bang that with the metal.
Yeah.
That was it. And he would have put 2 and 2 together at that point.
But then he wouldn't get the finger slice.
I know, but I don't know. Just that one felt like it was gory for gory's sake.
Oh, absolutely.
Which was then followed by, I think, something that was more disgusting, which was her after tearing her mouth back open. Carly's cries for help are successful, and Nick fends off Bo before freeing Carly. Her ripping the super glue off her lips, I think that was more disgusting than the fingers.
That was the one I had to turn away from. I was like, I can't watch this. That was really rough.
Meanwhile, Dalton explores the wax museum, discovering Wade, who is unable to move in his wax coating. Oh, I love this because he starts like Dalton being a dumbass, like peels off Wade's skin.
Yeah, and he just keeps going.
Wade deserves it at this point because he has done everything wrong in this movie.
It was really gross looking, though. I was impressed with it.
The really cool shot was there's a close-up on Wade's face, and you can see who came from him from behind again? Was it
Vincent?
It was Vincent. Mm-hmm. Okay, you see Vincent in the eyeball coming closer
because he was looking at him, right, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His eyes were towards his direction. Dalton attempts to free him, but is ambushed and murdered by Vincent. This is where we get the really good kill, the really cool hallway of faces. Like, everything that was good practically gets shown in this scene.
This was a great scene for such a shitty throwaway character.
And for a shitty throwaway chase scene.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good chase scene. It was just, there was just certain things that happened throughout it that were cool.
We saved the good chase scene for our girl. But I brought it up earlier, but I'll bring it up again. The face like wax faces in the wall as you're going down the hallway were gorgeous. Stunning.
And the thing that sucks is the movie does not show them off at all.
No. I think we may see it one more time when the twins go down the steps at the end, but it was very fast.
You have to pay attention and realize really quickly that those are faces to kind of appreciate it.
Yes.
That's the thing that sucks.
And it absolutely deserves all the attention that it doesn't get. And Dalton's death, I'm going to say, is the only... Well...
No, Paris had a cool death.
Yes. It's going to be the one of 2 shots that I absolutely love in this film. We get a POV shot from Dalton, who's on the floor face up looking towards Vincent, who's coming at him with these knives. Vincent crosses the knives and just sticks them down and beheads Dalton. And then we get this really cool, on the handles of the knives is on one side is the head of a dragon and the other side is the tail.
Yep.
And then he pulls the body away and you're like, oh shit, he just fucking beheaded this guy.
But this was a good thing of, it was gory, but it wasn't too gory. It was kind of like artistically gory in an odd way.
The only thing that took away from it is I didn't need to see Dalton blinking at the
Eyes
end.
blinking?
Yeah, it's gross, yes, but I was just like, I don't need this in my life. It was stupid.
Carly and Nick realize the wax figures are actually the wax-coated corpses of visitors lured into Ambrose. I think they realize this when they go to the house from before. That's like on a timer that opens up the windows.
Yes. Yeah, that's pretty much it. She realized, I think, when she was getting chased in the church. I think that happened by now.
The initial chase scene of the church?
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened before. That's like when he captured, when Bo got her.
Right. Okay, yeah. She realized in the church, and then the mom is in the casket and all that good stuff.
You know what's weird? I'm taking a look at the notes, and this movie does skip the scene where they have like the first face-off with Bo in the movie theater.
Really?
Yeah.
Did we skip Paris's death as well?
No. That's how much is happening now. Like, eventually we get back to them. Like, seriously, the first hour, nothing happens. The second hour, everything happens.
It's all scrunched into the second half of the movie.
Oh, it's like they literally thought the second act is what the third act in movies should be.
Exactly.
Like, every movie so far, the third act has been what the second act has been.
And I would understand if the whole first half of the movie was building up to this moment. And it really wasn't. It was a lot of just dead air.
It was an attempt at world building.
Yes, and an absolute...
That fell on its face.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's a cool scene in a movie theater where Carly is hiding.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's cool because she got caught before in the church. And she gets caught again now, technically, because he sees her right at the end. But since Chad Michael Murray is there, he just shoots him with a crossbow.
Yeah.
He gets shot in the crossbow, then he gets shot in the chest with a crossbow.
Yeah, and kind of near the heart, yeah.
Nearest the heart. As they take refuge from the Sinclairs in the house, Carly finds newspaper clippings revealing that Bo and Vincent were born conjoined twins and their father had surgically separated them, leaving Vincent's face heavily disfigured.
Which is why he's Phantom of the Opera at this point.
Basically.
Yeah.
The House of Wax was the brainchild of Sinclair's mother, Trudy, who died before its completion. Bo and Vincent now attempt to fulfill their mother's vision, but Bo has begun to manipulate his brother into murdering people to make wax figures look more realistic.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. I have a question. No, because we see Paige. We're about to get into Paige. After killing Blake near the campsite, Vincent chases down Paige and impales her. Now we get to break. This is our big moment. We get to break this down.
Yes, please break it down.
So, we had that sexy talk. Blake's like, I need my sexy music. And it cuts away from him, and it cuts to Paris back in the tent.
She's going to sleep. She's like, fuck this. He left me when I was trying to talk to him. I'm done. I'm just going to go to bed.
I remember when we were watching this, you said you didn't like this. In the sense of it was uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable.
The zipper for the tent opens up, and Vincent is the one going in, but you only see his silhouette,
yes.
And it is disturbing.
Absolutely disturbing. You see the long hair, it's a little frizzy or whatever, and you don't see it right away, but he's getting very close to the camera, which means he's getting very close to Paige. And I was very, very uncomfortable about this. And then she wakes up, and we see a flash of his face. Scared the absolute shit out of me, just in an uncomfortable way.
And she runs out, obviously, and we see that Blake got like a knife to the neck.
Yeah, she falls down and then looks to her right, I believe, and he's facing her, bleeding out.
Yep. And she runs away. And while he's walking away, he takes, like, Vincent puts his boot on the knife and, like, shoves it more into Blake's neck, like, definitely killing him now.
He double taps Blake with a knife.
Yep. And we now get what was the good chase scene of this movie.
Yes.
It's, like, probably a 3-minute chase scene that ends up in, I guess, like, their impound area for all the cars and the cell phones of people they've killed before. The one downside is the whole getting stabbed in the foot again, which was you brought up before.
Repetitive.
And then Vincent's like, I want to stab you in your titties.
And Paris is like, you're not the
that.
titties.
You're not doing that. Sorry. She hides. She is the only person besides the survivors to get a shot on the killer.
Yeah, she has like a stick of some sort.
It's like a broken off pipe.
Yeah, exactly. And she's laying in the back of this car waiting, either till he leaves or for her to get her shot. He opens the passenger door and she gets him, slice him right in the side of the face.
Which I think was his wax side, so it's not like they did a lot of
Yeah.
damage. But she messed with the wax that Vincent does fix later on in the movie.
He takes the wax that fell off of when he gets attacked and literally just like sculpts it back onto his cheek. That was a pretty cool effect.
She goes back to hiding, and then she gets the pipe to her head, pipe in the head. It gets like launched, Friday Part 3 style, and
it was right through the car window, through the passenger
Yes.
and driver, and it hits her right in the forehead.
And then he takes a video of her.
Yeah, she's in a position. I think there was a scene in one of the Final Destination movies that was exactly like this, and she's kind of sliding down into a crouching position, and you hear that squelching and nasty sound. The wax figure that they used for Paris in this scene was very, very good. Very well done.
Carly and Nick hide inside the House of Wax and discover Dalton's wax-coated body in Vincent's workshop before being attacked by the Sinclairs. This is, again, set design, fantastic.
Stunning.
My favorite part is with Dalton and like Nick's like, I'm gonna save you. Then he like rips Dalton's head off. And Carly's like, you gotta stop this. And like we know this guy had his head cut off. Like you like
yeah, it was done before you even got there.
And then with that, Vincent arrives, Mila Jovovich style. And like rips out his knives. I was like, oh, okay. And we get a kind of chase scene, which basically ends with the room being set on fire with the molten wax, and he can't go after them.
Right.
They eventually get to the house, and Bo's there. Also, you know what? No, we have to go back for a little bit. We missed something.
What?
Bo's awful arrow removal procedure.
Oh my god. Yeah, we totally skipped over that. That was right before the Paris scene, where the brothers are talking
Right
to
after
each
the
other.
Paris scene.
Yeah.
Because his brother arrives with Paris in the car.
Right, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah. And he decides...
Jesus Christ.
So stupid. He does... You have to pull the arrow out. That is true. It's through his arm. You have to pull it out. He decides, you know what? I'm not going to break the arrow in half.
Mistake number 1.
I'm going to pull it out, kind of like... What's the back end of the arrow?
The tail end of the arrow.
Yeah.
Going
pull
through his arm.
Fully through his arm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then, the next arrow that's through his chest, he cuts.
Yeah. So it's like he
Which
knew.
shows he had the tool on him to cut it.
He knew the entire time how to do this correctly, but for the first time he's like, let's make it difficult. Let's make it as painful as possible.
Oh, and then he covered it up through the clothing,
right?
Not actually on the wound.
And the second arrow removal, he's like vomiting into the sink. I'm like, buddy, 100%. I completely understand. I'd be passing
You're pulling
out
it through
vomiting.
your chest. I get it. I get it. I just judge about the first arrow because you had all the tools to cut it and make that way easier to get out of you.
Yeah.
Because all you would have to do is just cut the back end, then just...
Yep.
Done. You're finished. But in current time, Bo fights with Nick. But back to this Wikipedia. Nick sets the room on fire, leading to a building-wide inferno while Carly beats Bo to death, which she does.
Hell yeah, she does. She takes that bat and takes all of that trauma that she experienced down in the gas station on him. And that was another awesome practical effect for this movie.
Also, but the one bad thing about this movie, which I remember we started making fun of it at this point, is like the on-the-nose messaging. It's like twins versus twins.
Evil twin.
The good twins.
Yeah.
The evil twin versus the evil twin. The good twin versus the good twin. Both good twins are holding their evil twins in their arms while they're injured. It's so on. It's like
try a little harder. I know you're a horror movie. I know we're not a drama or, psychological thriller movie type of here, but just don't put it on the nose. Give your audience a little credit here.
After Vincent chases Carly upstairs, she attempts to reason with him about his brother's manipulation, but she and Nick manage to stab and kill him.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
The cool thing was Vincent was the actor who played Bo.
Mm-hmm.
It was he played both, which was kind of cool. But no, I think the one thing we unfortunately, like the Wikipedia article is not going to go into this. The house melting was great.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about that either after or whatnot. This is probably the most impressive practical effect I've ever seen in any horror movie.
It is beautiful. The one thing I'm not a big fan of is they kept cutting to the wax sculpts melting.
Yeah, again,
Like the people.
Yeah, it's they were expensive, so you're gonna get quote unquote reaction shots out of this. I get it, but I do agree. I really liked more the environment literally melting all around you.
Yeah. The siblings then escape from the building as it melts to the ground. Probably the worst looking scene in this movie.
Yeah, again, when you have 90% of the movie with practical effects and practical effects that are, A+, and then you go and you put in a regular CGI effect from 2005 into this movie, it's extremely noticeable in a very bad way.
Yeah, unfortunately. The next day, the police arrive and report about how Ambrose has been abandoned for years, which is like the only other time we get it's not on a map, which the movie trailer goes in on.
Mm-hmm. And then that's it. Oh no, they're right at the end of the movie. They were like, "Oh wait, the Sinclairs didn't just have twins; they had a third child."
Yeah, Nick and Carly are taken to the hospital. They pass Lester, who's suspected to be the Sinclair's third son. Lester smiles and waves them both goodbye as they are driven out of town.
Mm-hmm. And that's the movie. And then we go into the My Chemical Romance song for the credits.
Yeah. Which you decided to have a karaoke moment for.
Oh, absolutely. It brought me back to 2005, and I was just absolutely jamming out.
See, this is the thing. Like, let's go back to 2005 for a second. This shows there is an age discrepancy between the both of us because because that weird concert thing that's happening with Live Nation right now, and everyone's like, it's for older people, which is not wrong. It's older emos.
Hi, how you doing?
The thing is, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm not technically the youngest person, but this was this is before me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. This was my jams back in the day, so it was
I didn't learn about Panic or anything after that until probably a few years past 2010.
Oh,
that was
Jesus.
when I first heard them.
Wow. Yeah. That really shows our age difference. Anyways, let's not talk about how old I am anymore.
All right. So that was the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Are we ready for this movie roundup? I unfortunately don't feel like there's gonna be a whole lot we're gonna really be talking about.
No, I think we talked about it most, but let's just put it all in a big pot and cook it up.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, let's go.
Let's go. All right. Do you want to start this one this week?
Yeah, no problem. Again, very subpar movie. Overall, the music was really bad. We didn't really talk about the score. I mean, I know we talked about the soundtrack with the music that they bought, but the regular score was very, very underwhelming for a horror movie. Nothing scary about it.
I was gonna say it's forgettable. Yeah. I think that's why we really haven't mentioned it.
Yeah, exactly. Camera work, very poor. Editing didn't help at all. Usually that can kind of clean up bad camera work, or at least make it decent. In this case, it didn't. The only thing that really saved this movie were the amazing practical effects that in my opinion, didn't get enough of. I know at the end we did with the melting house, and that was incredible. But yeah, the acting was subpar. Even Paris. I love her, but, she's not the best actress. I'm going to give the movie probably a 3 out of 10. 4 if I'm being extremely generous because of the effects.
Yeah. That's the best way I can put this movie is it has potential that it just could never live
I
up
think
to.
that's the perfect
It's
description.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
If you probably had someone who knew how to work a camera better, and knew how to probably edit better, and knew how to direct better. Basically, the people who like had the control over this movie, yeah, if you like could have had them be better and like or just replace them with better people, this probably could have been a really good movie.
Yes.
For 2005 standards, not like, you know. I will say though, Paris Hilton won like the Golden Raspberry for Worst Actress. I do not think she was the worst part of this acting in this movie.
Absolutely not.
But what do we know? We just love Paris.
Yeah, of course. I think we're a little biased.
A little. I feel like I'm gonna follow you with the 3 out of 10. Now here's my question. Where does this rank in the season
So far?
so far?
Close.
Like at the end of the year, of course, we're gonna have a final roundup where we do all the stuff we did, but like preliminary, where does this land for
Close
you?
to the bottom, but not rock bottom for me.
No. Friday Part 4 is still my rock bottom. I highly doubt something's gonna beat that.
Exactly. It wasn't that bad as Part 4, but it wasn't great. It wasn't as entertaining as My Bloody Valentine, which was also a terrible movie. But at least that was a good time. This one was just like, we're an hour and 20 minutes in and we're getting things moving now. So
yeah, that's what I was actually gonna ask you was where would it land with My Bloody? Because right now it's been Part 4, Part 3, and then My Bloody. So I guess it's Part 4, Part 3, House of Wax, My Bloody.
probably around that, yeah.
All right, so right now it's bottom 3, and according to what our schedule is, in order for this movie to not be the bottom 3, it needs to be better than the new Texas Chainsaw.
Right, which neither of us have seen yet, and we will give...
It's not even out yet when we're recording.
Right, we will give that to you when it is time.
Yeah, but... Because, like, it's not going to be... Like, that's the only one, because all the other ones we have for this season, officially, they're all good movies. They're not going to... It's not going to outbeat any of those.
Right.
So it only has to go off of one movie that breaks it out of the bottom 3.
Right, because it's obvious.
Which it has a chance, because Texas Chainsaws have a tendency of being
of
bad.
course. But we will see. And
yeah. One final question I have for you. I forgot to ask it during My Bloody. How do you feel Wikipedia is at describing this movie to someone who had never seen it?
for again a movie that has nothing going on for it, I thought the description was really good. And it didn't give away the deaths in a very detailed way where if you watch this, you were like, oh yeah, I read this entire Wikipedia article and I didn't need to watch it. If you want to see the cool deaths, watch the movie. If you just want to know what's happening, read the Wikipedia article.
Yeah, I'd probably give this Wikipedia like a 7.
Yeah.
You know, it was really good at explaining the absolute, like, nothing that was happening in this movie for half.
Pretty much.
But there's a downside we're about to run into.
The Haunt?
We have to build a haunt.
Yeah, I know.
I have an idea for a haunt.
Great, because I have 0.
Okay.
We'll get into it
Ready?
now?
Yeah, let's do
All
it.
right, let's try.
Okay. All right, we're here. Haunt build. A whole lot of nothing's going to happen. But you know what's going to happen, Paige? I'm going to let you start.
Fantastic. All right, so mine seems to me more like a roller coaster than anything. I know you always say no exteriors, so you could always cut this beginning part out, but I, honest to God, had no idea how to start this. All right, here we go. We roll into Ambrose, seeing the town sign. We get to drive by the ghost town. We see the cool, shops, the buildings, just because I really like those. And then we just drive right into the entrance of the House of Wax. We go and we see the cool pieces, the wax people, the tables, the piano, and we stop for a minute, and next to us we see the eyes of Wade sitting at the piano move towards us, and we hear him moaning in pain. Right after that, we rush through the house. We go down the stairs with the Hall of Faces, and we see the dead body of Dalton in the waxing chair.
Paige?
Yeah?
We have the same fucking house.
Fantastic.
So far.
I'm halfway done. We go up the stairs. As we're going up the stairs, we see impaled Paige, probably like on the steps or something with a pole or whatever going through her. As we're going up, Vincent is chasing us with his pretty awesome knives. We turn a corner and we come face to face with both of the twins. As they go to swing at us, the house starts to melt around us. So that's happening while we're going through and trying to get out. And then we narrowly escape the house, and as we're leaving, we see Lester waving to us as we leave the town, and that's pretty much it.
All right. So I'm going to let you know I designed, and what it took you to design one house, I designed a two.
Oh, here we go.
And I think you know what one of them is.
Please tell me.
Let's start with the bad one first. House of Wax house.
Let's go.
It starts with us going into the House of Wax, because I feel like that's a perfect amount of exterior. We explore the Wax Museum, and we see Wade, like, moaning as we leave the room. As we go into the next room, we go past the Wall of Faces, and Vincent jumps at the viewers with his knife with Dalton's dead body on the floor.
Awesome.
We are now in the underground mines as a transition room, because I don't need to do something stupid when the movie allows me to have transition rooms. We end up at the Sinclair household, where Bo shoots a shotgun at the viewers.
Oh, nice.
The viewer escapes and ends up in the wax room, where we see Dalton in a wax cocoon. Vincent appears as though he's Mila Jovovich and starts to chase the viewers, but as he's trying to go towards the viewers, the fire starts.
Okay.
We arrive back at the Wax Museum, now fully ablaze, with Vincent chasing after the viewer, but eventually he falls through the floor, because fuck that boy. The viewer escapes from the House of Wax right as it's about to burn to the ground, is what I basically
I think we're pretty identical for the most part.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that's different is I went to the Sinclair house. That's it for like one room.
Yeah.
That was it. For me, it was like, I'm not leaving the House of Wax. Because the minute I leave it there, it gets dumb.
And literally the whole movie is called House of Wax. That is your centerpiece, you know.
Now for my second house.
Okay.
It is called The Sliving Adventure. We enter Paris's house.
Oh my god, okay.
That's our facade. It's Paris Hilton's house. And we end up in her kitchen, as she welcomes us to cooking with Paris. We then go into the next room in an aftermath of cooking, where something is on fire in the oven, and Paris is talking about how brutal it is. We we transition into Paris's black and white room. You know, the one where all the pillows have the fucking eyes?
Of course.
The crazy one. Where she welcomes us to her reaction to Stars Are Blind. We are transported to the music video of Stars Are Blind, and we go through certain scenes of the video. We warp back to the kitchen, where Paris informs us that her world-famous living lasagna is done. Sorry, it's not world famous, it's infamous. Sorry, I messed it up. It's infamous lasagna. At our final room, we arrive at Paris's special set dinner table. You know, from Cooking with Paris. Netflix original. And we are handed our sliving gloves as we enjoy some sliving lasagna as we fade to black.
I think hands down House 2 is the way to go. Nothing.
I was writing this and I'm like, am I just fucking writing a Paris Hilton fan fiction?
You basically are. And I do not think now past or future us will ever make a house as good as this one. I'm calling it now.
This just takes us back to where we went on vacation and we had a full day of binging cooking with Paris and then making sliving lasagna.
It was a very much beyond experience.
And you... So Paige is lactose intolerant?
Thanks for shouting out my flaws out there, my dude.
Well, it's the difference of the story. And the story is that Paris Hilton's lasagna has so much cheese.
Hey, I survived, man. I survived.
That's not the point. The entire point was the entire time we were cooking it, she was bargaining to cut like at least 2 layers of cheese. She's like, there's like no meat. It's all cheese. And the thing is, I was in charge of doing the cheese. And the way it works is you do some mozzarella and then you put it in the ricotta. And I mixed it and just like showed it to Paige. And she almost vomited at the amount of cheese.
That was our
like
own
2 pounds
little,
of cheese.
That was our own little horror story right there. But
oh, the best part is when we were cooking, you were like, I'm going to try this lactate pill for the first time.
yeah, this was the true test.
I was like, this is a terrible first time because this is going to wreck you regardless. Oh, man, that had to be... Oh, God. Paris Hilton made our vacation.
I love it. I love Paris Hilton. I wish I loved this movie as much as I remembered loving it. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
I don't think I'm ever going to laugh as hard as I did right now.
Oh, God.
Also, I'm in love with Slivington.
Everyone
love
must be.
Slivington. But that was it for this movie. It kind of... I felt like we had to work on doing just bits or something because there was nothing to go with this movie. Next week, we are doing the original Texas Chainsaw to get us prepared for the one that's coming out within the next month. I hope. If it gets delayed, we'll
delay it.
We'll do like the Jessica Biel one.
Or great. But
we'll see which one we do. As long as it doesn't get delayed.
Texas Chainsaw is my favorite slasher, so I'm very excited to get to this. RJ has never seen the original, so
I've seen cuts. I've seen like little bits. I've never actually watched the full one. I've seen the 2001 one.
Let's not talk about it.
The one thing I do know about the 2001 one is it is a genuinely like popular opinion that the beginning to 01 is way more disturbing than the beginning to the original.
Okay, I'll give it that.
With the girl who like.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, join us next time, and until then, we'll see you later.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.